I'm often asked about the difference between conservation and preservation by many people, and that's understandable. Most folks don't understand how our national lands are managed, and we have a lot. The Park Service has about 100 million, the Forest Service is about 200 million, and BLM managed about 300 million. So do the math on that. That's a lot of lands that are owned by the American public, and it's a unique structure that was created in this country. Prior to that, all these mostly lands were owned by the noble families, and the king had this property or that property. You see that in England to this day, that the monarch owns a lot of land. But in our country, we decided to make the American people the sovereign and owning their own lands. And there was a competition, if you will, between two different environmentalists at the time. Gifford, Pinchot, who founded the Forest Service, was one of them, and he supported the concept of conservation. And then John Muir, who everyone knows is a guy who supported the concept of preservation. And so the compromise was worked out where the national parks would be under the Muir concept of preservation, where you don't touch those parks. They're basically put under, for lack of a better term, a dome. I mean, you cannot go in and log them unless it's absolutely necessary because of dead growth or something like that. But it's to be preserved and kept as much as it originally looked. Yellowstone is a perfect example of that. Yellowstone was the first national park with that concept of preservation. And around Yellowstone are the national forests. And the national forests, some of our first ones, the Shoshone, for instance, was our first national forest, was built as a buffer, if you will, around those national parks. Because think about it, you have maybe 30 million acres, maybe exaggerate on that, but a lot of acreage, say, are Yellowstone. But if you're not protecting what's around it, you could have development, all sorts of things going on that could affect that. So the band around the national parks, if you will, was the concept of conservation. And conservation is a more managed approach to forests where you go in and you log, and yes, you can even mine and do other things for the benefit of the American people. So those often are given royalties back to the United States government when they're allowed to mine and or log in our lands. So we have to really think of them as our lands. And I really want to make that emphatic to the next generation. These are your lands. These lands belong to you. They're inheritance you got at birth that you're not even aware of. You may not own 1 inch of land in your name, but you have hundreds of millions of acres of land in your name as a citizen of the United States. And that is a unique and special gift that we've all been given by these foresightful individuals at the turn of the 19th century.